our representatives are currently busy. Please stay on the line, and your call will be answered by the next available representative. The estimated hold time is currently less than 96 minutes.
Holy
You are
fuck.
currently caller number 32, waiting to speak with a representative. Thank you for your patience.
Why the fuck you lying? Why you always lying? Oh my God.
What the fuck?
Stop fucking lying.
Thank you for calling Plain White Toast Podcast. How may I direct your call?
Yeah, can you connect me to Gambino, please?
One moment, please.
Please hold for a very important message.
Have you ever had a dream that you want him to.
This is the Gambino.
Hey, Gambino, baby. Hey, you sound like you've lost some weight. And call me crazy, but you sound a little younger, too.
What do you want, Carl? Jake better be in studio soon. The show's about to start.
Right, yeah, I know. And you know how it is. Jake was partying late last night in Ogden with a baby, and, well, he might be a little bit late. But the reason I'm calling is he wants out.
Of the closet?
No, he wants out of the nickname you gave him. Now, look, he's got a list of preferred nicknames, but...
He doesn't get to pick his nickname. We've been over this. I gave Cody his senior NBA correspondent name, and he loves it. He's very happy with it.
Yeah, but come on, Bino. You and I both know that the longer the Snake nickname is around, the more disgruntled the Jake will become. And he's not used to being told no.
I tell him no all the time. Ricky, do I look cool in this jacket? No. Am I funny? No. I tell him no all the time.
Well, he'll never get used to being told no.
Listen, he keeps going through nicknames. First, he didn't like State Farm. Then he didn't mesh well with Gake. And he didn't even like Cobb. And that's a nickname he had since childhood. He can't seem to work with any of the nicknames he's given. Not A1 Jake Sauce, not the Jake Hammer, not Wakey Wakey Eggs and Jakey, Jakeosaurus Rex, Jakey No Necks, Tasty Jake, Jakey Pine Cones, not even na 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 na. Hey Jake, none of them. I don't know what to tell you, but tell him he doesn't get to pick his own nickname.
You're right. I'll let him know what you said, and we'll give him a chance to take a step back and think about it. Now, he might go in another direction, because I know he likes to travel. Well, anyway, hey, I gotta go. They're only giving me one phone call, and I was supposed to use it to find Jake a fatter Kardashian. Also, don't be surprised when he shows up out of shape now.
What do I care if he's not in shape? We do a podcast. This week on NBA Storylines, we're going to break down the recent trade discussions of Houston Rockets superstar James Harden. From his 2011 Six-Man Award in OKC through his superstardom in Houston and the whirlwind of turmoil that continues to trail in his wake. From his diva-like behavior to the complacency of a feckless organization in Houston, we're going to break it all down. All of that and, of course, Jake's rant this week.
Yes. Get down in there, jerk off the defender.
Holy smokes, did he get high? Oh, that's right. Lift that bag of potatoes if you got two inside.
Oh, hit on a reach around.
But boy, did it look good in real time.
2014, he's already brought them to their first division title since Elijah won in 94. And just like that, it would appear that at this point, Morey hitched his wagon to the right horse. Countless stories of Harden and his diva-like behavior, and of course the complacent organization at the time hell-bent on making their bona fide superstar happy, regardless of what they had to do. Because after all, what's the harm in an extra day off or a missed practice or two if he can immediately come out and knock out a triple-double, right? The trade-off, to me, seems understandable. Hell, Cody, it seems therapeutic in its abstract way.
Well, I think I'd start out with saying that circumstances like this, usually in society, we look for one singular point to place blame, and that's like people want to just staple that to somebody. I think in this circumstance, it's a little bucket A, little bucket B, just kind of down the line. We could certainly blame Harden, and he has his faults for how everything kind of shook out. But you can't blame Harden without, in turn, looking at the leadership within the organization and go like, well, what the fuck, you guys? Like, you guys just let this fester for 5-6 years, you know? Like, so I kind of side on the merits that through Houston's bad leadership and not holding James Harden accountable, they allowed this monster. They created the monster, and by the time it got this big, they weren't able to reel it back in.
Do you think James Harden was aware? I mean, obviously he has a decent awareness. You would think he's aware of what his value is to the organization. Was he taking advantage of the situation?
Yeah, I absolutely think so. I think when we base things down to like the human element, we see this all the time, whether it be at work or with family members. That there's certain people that are going to push boundaries, and they're going to see how far they can take something. And in the circumstances of an NBA organization, when you're the reigning MVP, or for Harden's sake, I don't believe he's finished less than third place in MVP voting in the last 4 or 5 years, I believe. So, I mean, that alone gives you that clout. I guess my concern with Harden is like, just legacy-wise, is so. Do you want to just win MVPs, or do you want to be able to compete for NBA championships? And for a bit of that peak, they were. I mean, they were a game away from making the NBA Finals, with him being it was him and Chris Paul being the sole best two players on that team. But it's just one of those, I guess it's weird to me going like, he's got to have peers around the league and see how those teams are structured through professionalism, being on time, things of that nature. And these are peers that are winning championships, be it LeBron James, Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, my apologies. So when you see the modeled behavior of what it takes to be a champion, if he sees that he's missing out and he notices that his peers are following kind of a stricter protocol of how to behave, how to be a professional, that he would not model that behavior.
Let me bring in Jake the Snake Plissken for this one. Snake, why didn't the organization jump in and set structure and clear expectations of their superstar?
Because structure is a buzzkill, baby. How am I supposed to live my best life out on the town, meeting people, and going out with women and checking out the strip clubs and partying up, going to Vegas? How am I supposed to do all that if I've got a flight to catch, if I've got a practice to make or training camp to get to? Oh, and another thing, I don't want to be told that I have to go home tonight because it's a school night. I mean, a work night. Yeah, no thanks, man. No thanks. So I'd rather not have the structure if I'm Harden. I just as soon do without it.
The Houston Rockets superstar, he's made it clear he wants out of Houston. He refuses to show up for training camp, and he's missing the team's, I want to say, the first 1 or 2 preseason games. With Harden's demands and his behavior, how much stock has he lost in the eyes of the teams as he's expressed interest in playing for? I mean, the owners of these teams have to be looking at Harden and his Vegas holdout shenanigans as just that, right? Shenanigans? Not to mention, he clearly looks out of shape, at least 10 pounds. I mean, I know he's going to eventually run it off, but all of this has to be looking bad in his eyes. I want to hear y'all's input here for this, but I mean, they have to be thinking to themselves, now here's someone that can potentially tear down the entire culture of our team, who has the potential to throw a fit when things aren't going his way, and thus creating a bad example to the younger players. Would you guys agree with that?
Look, I'm with you on that. I agree. I think I wouldn't want him on my team, but look, I know that I am in the minority of this because he's so good. He is absolutely incredible at putting the ball in the basket, and turns out he's also a selfish dickhead. So, a lot of people, a lot of teams are like, okay, well, if you're going to be a dickhead, that's fine. Just put asses in the seats as soon as asses can go back in the seats, and try to bring us a title. That won't happen, by the way. But, he'll get you a shitload of regular season wins. And if that's what you love, if that's what you're into, he's your man. But look, it all comes from disrespect. It all wraps around the idea that he does not respect the organization, right? Or he does not respect his teammates. Just consider all the times he was late, all the extra days off, the play style that doesn't get any teammates involved. All this stuff just shows a respect for the organization that was doing anything in their power to please him. That is a bad mistake, boys and girls. If you give to somebody or something and give and give and give and look for extra ways to give them things and just do anything that they want, that's a bad idea. That is always a bad idea. But here is why you can't do that. If you're the Houston Rockets or any other NBA team or any other company or any other just human being. I'm watching this Dr. Phil episode the other day. Oh, and I don't want to hear it. I know you guys watch it too from time to time. You don't have to tell anybody. I know, okay? We all know. We all do it. There's some good stuff sometimes. And he has this guest on that is telling Dr. Phil about this relationship he had. And he was giving everything he had to it. He just loved her so much. Pick up her kids, and he would bring her things, give her money all the time, just hand over a bunch of cash just for no reason. Love you. Give her gifts. Do all these things for her, and she still treats him like shit. And he was wondering, why does she treat me like shit? I do so many things for her. Dr. Phil said, if you do everything for her, she's going to lose respect for you. What were you thinking? Dr. Phil needs to get a couple of these front office guys on the show and just kind of talk through some stuff. It would have saved him. But Harden, unlike the Rockets, is going to escape all this without any real consequences. Yeah, he'll take a hit on his reputation, but his reputation sucked anyways. The Houston Rockets are paying for this dearly because they forfeited their entire future to go all in on Russell Westbrook because James Harden wanted them to. And they gave away their future. But James Harden doesn't give a shit. He wouldn't show Westbrook any respect, and he's his best friend in the league. Like, let's not act like that this doesn't happen throughout the league, right? Everybody's acting surprised. Whoa. Even people within the league, I couldn't believe that was going on for 8 years. Yeah, okay, look, they're doing that with everybody. Westbrook was getting that same treatment in Oklahoma City. But he was running KC like a military unit, right? Very disciplined. They were expected to, show up on time so that the plane can leave on time because you're not the only one in the goddamn universe.
It's no secret the owners run a monopoly. They get most of their demands met by the Players Association. In this, however, they also recognize you aren't going to get too far in this league without a superstar. There are plenty of stars in the NBA, but the inclusion of a superstar is necessary to win. And if you're a superstar, you get a lot of clout. How you spend that clout often says more about the man than otherwise known. Careful and well calculated, superstar clout can help bring the missing piece that gets your franchise a championship. Poor use of it often attributes to bad behavior, numerous personnel changes, and an overall reality TV drama on display for all to witness. So how toxic was Harden's relationship with Houston teammates? According to many sources, it was tumultuous. Heated arguments both during practice and game time lended credibility to the reality TV argument volleyed back and forth nightly on ESPN. But office personnel brushed it off with the now famous "whatever James wants" ideology. All of this diva-like behavior has been brought to light in recent days due to his Vegas holdout and demands to be traded, where in the past, the deflective nature of James being James, or whatever James wants, no longer holds its whimsical nature now that he appears committed to leaving Houston. With 4 head coaches, 2 GMs, DeMarcus Cousins, Dwight Howard, Chris Paul, and now likely John Wall, at what point do you ask yourself, what is the real reason why Houston cannot win the championship? Were the Houston Rockets entirely complicit in their handling of James Harden? Let's take a closer look. Chris Paul's biggest complaint was Harden's lack of interest on offense when he was off the ball. Harden eventually got tired of Paul's complaining, including his request to head coach Mike D'Antoni to include more offensive structure. When Harden gave Houston an ultimatum, him or me, they elected to push CP3 out in favor of Russell Westbrook. At the time, Daryl Morey believed the inclusion of Westbrook would iron out any Harden-type issues. It did not. Westbrook was touted as a near militant general on the OKC floor, and it was only a matter of time before Harden's loose structure would become too abrasive to a much more disciplined Russell Westbrook. And now it has come to light over the last week with reports of tardiness, lack of motivation, and unwillingness of sorts to win, or at the very least an uncaring approach, all pointed towards Harden. This isn't really news to those who followed the Houston-based sitcom since the James Harden pilot episode debuted to mild fanfare behavior, especially when the owners of the potential teams who he expressed interest in have to be looking at the Harden and his Vegas holdout shenanigans as just that, shenanigans. Not to mention he clearly looks out of shape. They have to be thinking, here's someone that can potentially tear down the culture of our team, who has the potential to throw a fit when things aren't going his way and thus creating a bad example to the younger players. Is this someone talented notwithstanding that we want on our team?
But some of the things that are really getting my goat, I guess I should start using the phrase "getting my Michael Jordan" because those are interchangeable. But I don't look this idea that I don't blame James. I don't blame him. I blame the organization. It's not his fault. He did what they allowed him to do. But yeah, he did do what they allowed him to do. But at the same time, you got to understand he was holding them hostage essentially by saying, "Look, if you don't get this player, then I'm out of here. If you don't make this trade and get Chris Paul off of my team, then I'm going to demand a trade." But why would he want Chris Paul traded? Think about that, because it was with Chris Paul that they got to within one game of the NBA Finals. That's the furthest that Harden has ever been. And if they would have won that one game, they probably would have won the championship that year. Certainly, a lot of people think so. So why would you mess with that too much? Well, I'll tell you why. Because Chris Paul wanted to incorporate more of his team, right? He wanted to pass the ball around. He wanted Mike D'Antoni to add a little bit more motion to the offense so that everybody could be engaged. But Harden didn't want that. Like the report said, he will act disinterested. He doesn't want any part of the actual pass the ball around to your teammates sort of offense. He's a baby. And maybe that was why he was at the Lil Baby's birthday party. The fact is that we've got this child basically running an organization, which does actually speak very unpleasantly towards the organization that lets a child run it. But we let Trump run the country for 4 years, so who are we to judge? There's another point that I want to make, and it's that this idea that that you can't question Harden's effort out on the floor. He was there he was there all the time. He's one of the most durable guys, and he was always there, and he always gave it his all.
All those are true. All those are true, Jake.
All those are not true. Now he was there. His body did take it, right? He was an Iron Man in that regard. But this is a guy that if during the Chris Paul brought it up when he left. Like this is his issue. Like he would take possessions off. Okay, if it wasn't going to be in his hands for the possession, he would be sometimes on the other side of half court while the play went down. He would be. Go ahead.
I take issue with that too. Sorry to cut you off on that. Like that's one of my main notable things that like I cannot stand of the Harden situation. Like it's one thing that there's certain locker room stuff that we'll never quite understand. But stuff like that on the court, when you got your other teammates out there fighting hard on defense, giving it their all, and they don't really have the ball in their hands as often as he does, and that just shows a level of maturity. But sorry,
No, absolutely, dude. And you know what? It's absolute bullshit that it's like look, it's my way, or I'm not going to be interested. And Chris Paul was kind of goes back and he's talking with D'Antoni and he's saying look. I want an offense where we can all get involved, so if we all get to touch the ball a little bit, then even if it ends back up in Harden's hands, see, that's a San Antonio mindset, right? It's like everybody's gonna I guess I should update my reference. It's a Golden State Warriors mentality, right?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like that's Golden State to a T, and I think how dangerous they were with how they could swing the ball and play for 3.5 quarters, but when the game was on the line, they can isolate with Kevin Durant, and he'll take us home, you know. And it's just it's weird. It's weird to me that Harden can't see through that.
How happy, how much enjoyment did it look like the Golden State Warriors were having for a long time? They looked like they were having a fucking blast, right? They were out there just loving the game.
Oh yeah, you're actually playing basketball.
Look, you don't have to play basketball a certain way. You can play it any way you want, okay? And he played it in a way in which it was. Look. You cannot deny his skill, his ability, and his just. He's just another level talent offensively, putting the ball in the hole. But he will not win a championship playing that way. He's not going to win a championship playing that way. The only way he will win a championship is if he somehow changes the way he's been playing for the last 8 years, which is going to be interesting to see because he brought up maybe if he goes to Brooklyn. Now, if he goes to Brooklyn, Cody, Gambino, look, if he goes to Brooklyn, you're going to have him and Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant in the biggest media market in the world, which is going to be incredibly entertaining to watch because what's going to happen, I'll tell you right now, it's going to blow up. It's going to implode. And
that's a very short fuse situation.
Oh, dude. Yeah, there's no way you bring those three guys together as talented as they are. They might be the three most talented that have ever been on an NBA team together. But it's going to be an epic train wreck. And I hope that Houston sends him to Brooklyn.
Yeah, because they all want to hold on to it too for 20 seconds, you know.
Exactly. So
I can see Irving getting mad and then doing the same damn thing. Kevin Durant's the only one that like seemingly has a basketball brain, you know. But that's what kills me too. That your comment with Harden and his scoring is he's actually more than that. He's led the league in assists.
But let's okay. So let's break that down for just a second because the way that his brand of basketball is being played, where he's holding the ball for so long, is he not bound to get that many assists a game? If when they bring a double team, he once or twice a game. Or once or twice a quarter, kicks it out to the open guy. I mean, I'm not as impressed in that leading the league in assists here.
Oh, he's not like Stockton out there, or he's not like Nash or Stockton, like setting up other guys as good as those guys do. But he still gets them. I'm sure he gets about probably 3 or 4 assists a game that way. But some of it, if you watch his highlights, he does make some really good basketball plays. Like it just like you show that you kind of have it and you kind of get it. But then he reverts back to old Harden that likes to dribble and isolate the whole time.
Yeah, it's tough to sell the assist leaders. You know the amount of assists he gets. The argument is does he rip a single up the middle, hard hit, or does he leg it out? From a dribble to third. The end result is still the end result. And you're right. He's going to draw a lot of double teams for the amount of time he holds the ball, and for the amount of times his usage amount. Up over 55%. So he's going to draw those flies, and it takes a great eye, to find that open man. And I don't think you can discount those abilities, and really when the end result is, the assist itself,
And you know what? If anybody out there, can find a video of him setting a screen for anybody, I'd love you to send it to me. Send it my way. I'd love to just analyze it and look at him setting a screen. I don't know that he knows how to set a screen, but setting a screen is kind of a selfless act of getting another teammate open, and that's the whole problem with James Harden. Do you remember? So I want to bring this up. The last year's All-Star game. It was a new format. So they did the score differently. It was really quite a fun game. It turned out to be, but they vote on all of the All-Stars. So you get like 10 of them. I guess you get the 10 that are voted in, or no, not 10, much more than that, right? 10 from each conference. Okay. Okay, cool. So the fans vote in the 12, and then the leader of the votes on the East is the captain. The leader of the votes on the West is the captain. And so last year we had LeBron and Giannis, and they did this special where it was like kind of like a schoolyard. We're gonna pick our squad. I got this guy. James Harden had just won the MVP, right? I'm going to remind you guys that he was at his peak James Harden, as James Harden as he gets in that time. And I will tell you that, or remind you rather, that he was second to last to be picked in a group of his peers. Okay? Why would he?
Ouch.
Ouch. Why would that be? That stings, bro.
That stings.
You know what? But it's so telling. It's like those guys don't want to play with him. They don't want the guy on their team to just be holding the ball. They want to move the ball. They want to have fun. They want to play basketball how it was intended.
Maybe they didn't pick him because they wanted to hoard the ball.
Oh yeah, maybe so. Yeah, absolutely. Look, I feel like James Harden is that asshole in traffic that honks his horn all the time and cuts you off, and you go to flip him off to have some sort of vindication, and he won't look at you.
Yeah,
you know?
it's valid.
That sums it up.
Boy, what an interesting, unique relationship the Houston Rockets had with James Harden. I mean, I just wonder if someone else would have been in his position, if it would have went down the same way.
Yeah. You know, I think of a quote and for both the Rockets and James Harden, and it's is it the hand that hits you or the heart that bears it? And
nice.
So I look at that situation, and I can't help but think of that quote, and it's. I mean, Harden does deserve a lot of blame for everything that's going on, and we can argue about how his play style and the end result what that will come down to, and this definitely is like egg in the face for both the organization and Harden in this. I'm curious to see how it pans out. I don't know if Houston will take that Brooklyn deal. I don't know, and I said I think about Philadelphia, right? Who's the new GM of Philadelphia?
Yeah, and you know what? It's going to be interesting when he does end up in a new place. What the kind of relationship he's going to have with the GM? Is he going to maybe ease into just asking him if we could go to the strip club? Is he just going to go to the strip club? Is he going to be late the first day? You know. Oh! Listen to this, Gambino. Philadelphia is now engaged in the early talks of being okay with sending Simmons to Houston in some sort of package. They're early on in those talks, but it looks like they're not unopposed to sending Simmons to Houston and bringing the huge problem of James Harden up to where you're at there, Gambino. What do you think about that? What are your initial thoughts?
But I mean, again, like you said, and I got that notification as well. It's, it's sobering to see, because I'm a huge Ben Simmons fan, and I believe what he does on the floor is in so many small little things. They really can't quantify, So
you're right.
To bring Harden on, a big question mark with that, and how he would interact with a Joel Embiid, it brings me indigestion, as you can tell.
It's kind of weird to me that we sit there and talk about the Houston organization and Harden and kind of shame on them type of thing, but it was Morey the whole time that was running the organization. So
absolutely,
that's true.
So it's weird to me that I don't know really sure how to take it. I guess at the end of the day, it must not be that bad if he's willing to take on Harden. Like maybe it's just
right.
Yeah.
Or maybe the money is that good, or maybe
the
it's just
that good too. Like we can't
the talent.
The talent overall, like, I mean, Ben Simmons is younger, and he does his own things well in the basketball court. But the overall talent of what Harden brings, like him or not, is the dude is talented. He does have MVP in his closet. He's got MVP. Like we mentioned before, hasn't finished worse than third in the last 5 years in MVP votes.
Why did he keep it in his closet? Okay, so yeah, that's the ultimate scenario. But another part of me goes, go to Brooklyn, bro. Just go to Brooklyn. I'd love to see this thing implode magnificently. Please go to Brooklyn. Please go to Brooklyn. He can't deal with other superstars. When the closest he got to a championship was when they brought the most team-oriented guy in, Chris Paul. And then they got all the way there, and then when he was hurt, that's when they couldn't deliver. So we'll see what happens. I do hope you guys let me change my prediction for the NBA champion if he goes to Philly. I'm taking my name off of Philly completely.
Too late.
Yeah, it's locked in stone.
Ah, shit.
Oh, okay. Let's get final thoughts on from each of you, and then we'll wrap this up. Our senior NBA correspondent, Cody Bass, walk me through this season with Harden, of where he ends up, where he stays, where he goes, where he finishes. Break it down for me.
Well, I think it's contingent on what the Rockets can get for him, and where the leverage of where Harden will want to go. So to maximize what they can get in return for him, it's going to have to be an organization that he wants to go to. So it sounds like we can pencil in Brooklyn and Philly as the two odds-on favorites. And I can't imagine a third team sneaking in there just because, say, Charlotte offers an insane package for him that's like LaMelo Ball
package,
Rozier, 5 first-round picks. And Harden doesn't want to go over there, and he won't commit to signing long-term with them. They're not going to offer that type of trade package because they need assurances on their end that he's willing to stick around.
But wait a minute. We saw an example of someone pulling the trigger recently, of an organization pulling the trigger on somebody that was definitely or most likely going to be a rental, and they won a title. And I'm talking about the Toronto Raptors with Kawhi Leonard.
Well, even Anthony Davis, for that matter.
Sure. So there's this theory of, okay, so we're a small market team and we're not going to get a chance like this again. Yeah, we might have only a year and a half or 2 years of this, but we'll roll that dice to try and get a championship for this community. I
want to roll like devil's advocate to the Toronto situation though, because Toronto they were spinning wheels for a few years there, so they were at a crossroads of saying like, hey, do we just sell off all of our assets and do a rebuild, or do we just take the gamble? So to do the rebuild, you're going to have to trade out Lowry, you're going to have to trade out DeRozan, and you're going to want expiring contracts, reduce your payroll, and then build up through the draft again. Well, they took a calculated risk knowing that Kawhi wouldn't, and what did he do? He ended up leaving the organization anyway. But it was a calculated risk going like, so if this blows up in our face, we were going to rebuild anyway. So that's one thing you got to kind of consider. And I can see that being the case. Maybe a team like Toronto takes that gamble again and say like, hey, if we win, maybe we can convince them. So I could certainly see that.
They could start calling themselves the Toronto Rentals.
No shit.
All right, Jake, how about you? Where does Harden end up this year?
Well, Gambino, I'm glad you asked. Because it's my hope that when Harden does find his new team, he finds a group of guys that are willing, with open arms, to accept him as not only a new teammate, but a good friend. It's my hope that he finds a team that will go to the strip club with him, but just at a different time, so that they still make their flight. It's my hope that he finds a team that doesn't really like to touch the basketball at all. It's my hope that he finds a team in Europe. Partying with Lil... Does anybody know Lil Baby? Maybe that makes me sound...
I have no idea.
Okay, thank you.
It ages me.
Yeah, for real. Gambino, you don't know the Lil Baby, do you?
Oh, of course. I'm hip to everything here.
For sure. By the way, Harden gave him a gift, a couple of gifts while he was on that at that birthday party, and one of them was a brick of cash of $100,000. So that was just a birthday gift for the Lil Baby.
That'll buy a lot of diapers.
Wow.
Well, I think he made a good point, though, and I really think that what I hope happens for his own best interest is that all this this media circus surrounding him right now is kind of that come to Jesus moment where he's like, you know what, maybe I did fuck up. And people make mistakes. I'm not going to sit there and does he deserve to get chastised a little bit for it? Certainly, but if he can have that come to Jesus moment and reconcile the past behavior and move forward, like I'm on camp that latter situation. Like, let that happen. And it really comes down to his own self-awareness. If he's able to really reflect on the past and go like, I'm going to recommit myself. And if that is the case and he goes to a Philly, then you may have made the right pick. That could be a world champion right there.
However, if he goes to Brooklyn, we just might see a basketball season like we've never seen before. One that's exciting and just hilarious.
Oh yeah, if you're on Team Chaos, and Brooklyn's that's the organization you should go to.
Well, barring that and some Hallmark Channel moment there with Jake and some televangelical, epiphany by James Harden. My prediction. Unlike you two, I'll actually give a prediction because I am fearless on here. My prediction is he stays exactly where he's at, and they find themselves landing right around the 4 seed. I think John Wall has.
Oh, really? You think they can get the 4 seed still?
Without a doubt. DeMarcus Cousins, he dropped that weight. He looks amazing. John Wall has taken on the role of facilitator. James Harden, and is really what it's going to come down to is whether Wall and Cousins can withstand what they already knew going in, that he was going to take that extra day when he needs it. He's going to, be a day late to practice after the All-Star game. All those things that are now commonplace. It seems as though John Wall has taken on the reins of just being that facilitator, the point guard that he really always wanted to be. DeMarcus Cousins, again, looking the way he does. Harden maybe drop 10 pounds or so, and which I'm sure he will. He'll get on the recumbent. He'll get to the gym and he'll get where he needs to be out of pride and ego more than anything. But my prediction is he'll stay, he'll weather out Houston, and he'll end up in the 4th seed. I possibly, and I'm going to go a step further. I'm going to say this year, I believe.
Ooh, this sounds like you have a hot take. Time for a hot take. Time for a hot take. What you going to say? It's a hot take.
I believe that they will go to the finals.
You think they'll beat the Lakers?
No, they'll go to the Western
Conference. Okay, whew.
Well, I think to Ricky's credit, though, is like if DeMarcus and John Wall show what they've been showing in the preseason, and they finally get a string of good health in their favor, like I don't think it's not outlandish. It's the other interesting. Right. The other interesting point too is all this stuff coming to light with Harden. Does that create power in a vacuum for someone like DeMarcus Cousins or John Wall to go like, you know what, I'm going to seize this locker room. This locker room's now mine.
Yeah.
And how does that, like, I'm sure Harden would not appreciate that much, but maybe he's just too immature to even really want that role, and he would be okay relinquishing that power. I don't know, it's something to consider, I guess.
Absolutely.
For real. Absolutely.
Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for coming on here and giving your opinions for this James Harden debacle, I guess we'll call it. We'll kind of leave it at that. Only time will tell. I guess we'll see if they can make the playoffs this year with Harden, Wall, and Cousins. Any final thoughts?
Yeah, I was just wanted to point out that looks like they got their wall down there by the border, albeit a John wall, and Houston paid for it. So,
and on that note, thank you once again, guys, folks. If you're listening out there, go ahead and hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, of course, the little bell, and catch us next time when we discuss Kyrie Irving.
World be flat.
World be flat.
World be flat. That's what we call them on the streets, bro. World be flat.
All right. As always, this is Plain White Toast, and you are not.